Okay, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to QIU's World Pharmacists Day webinar. I'm Natalie and I'm here with my partner today, Ms. Darshini. We'll be the MC for today's webinar and we hope you've had a great time with us so far.
Before we get started with tonight's agenda, we would like to inform everyone that the QIU World Pharmacists Day slogan creation process is still on, and the deadline to share the slogan on Facebook will be tonight by 11:59 p.m.
Yes, so to create the slogan, you only have to complete the following sentence. I always trust the pharmacist for my health because, and then you make sure that it does not exceed 30 words. Once you've created your slogan, you can post it on Facebook, tag QIU Pharm, and then submit your entry at the submission link. You can always refer to our Facebook or Instagram page for the submission procedure and also the terms and conditions. So join us and stand a chance to win prizes and e-certificates. And once again, the deadline of submission is by tonight, 59 p.m. Sorry. So be sure to submit by then. Now we will move on to our next agenda. So our next speaker was a lecturer at the School of Pharmaceutical Sciences in University Science Malaysia for over 40 years. Whilst lecturing in the university, he was also a consultant and an R&D director to a local pharmaceutical company, Hovik Berhad. In Hovik, he led a team in drug formulation and product development, as well as heading a bioequivalence center. He was also the lead investigator of several clinical studies on vitamin E tocotrienols from palm oil. In recognition of his contribution in research and to the local pharmaceutical industry, he was conferred the title Emeritus Professor by University Science Malaysia in 2019. He was also listed as the world's top 2% scientist by Stanford University in 2020. Hence, with great honor, let us welcome Professor Emeritus Dr. Yuan Ka-hei to give his talk on pharmacies in industrial pharmacy. Professor Yuan, you may start whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. Is that Natalie? Yeah,
Yes,
thank you very much for your kind introduction. So I shall share my screen now. Yeah. Yeah, can you see the screen?
Not yet, sir.
Okay, it's already on. Can you see it?
Not yet, sir. So maybe you try exiting and sharing again.
Okay. Okay. Share screen. Okay. I can't find my share. Wait.
Yeah, we can see your entire screen now, sir.
Wait, something is wrong somewhere. Wait, I tell you what, I just go on and come back quickly again. Yep.
All right, sure.
Okay. But I can't find my. So sorry about it.
It's okay, so I can take your time. Just now you were able to share your entire screen already, so you can open your slides. Actually, we can see it just now.
Okay, can you see my screen now? Hello?
No, sir, you're not sharing your screen yet.
From here, you need to click the green button, share screen.
Yeah, I know. I did that. Is it better? I close again.
Okay.
There's a green button there, share screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you can click on the your PowerPoint that is open, or your entire screen.
Yeah. Can you see now? Hello?
It's not showing yet, sir.
Strange, huh? Because usually just
Probably, Prof, you can send your slides to Natalie and then she can share for you.
I'm afraid my slide is very big because there's some video inside.
Okay.
Wait, let me see. Okay.
Did you click when you click the yellow screen? Did you see there's a lot of the small window? When you click the share screen.
Yes, okay.
Okay, then you just choose whatever you want. If you click the first screen, then your
Okay, so yeah.
entire screen will be yeah.
You're
We
there now?
see this already. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Is that ready, right?
Yeah, we saw already.
Okay. So I think there are not many participants tonight, right? So we make it a little bit informal. So before I talk about the career opportunities in the pharmaceutical industry, maybe I just talk a little bit about the pharmacy course first. Now, for some of you are pharmacists, you know the pharmacy course is a very robust and broad-based professional course. In fact, in pharmacy, we learn almost everything about drugs, from the chemistry to drug action, toxicities, to formulation, and also application and treatment of diseases. We also learn about human physiology, pathogenesis, and genetic basis of diseases, etc. Therefore, you find that pharmacy graduates are actually very versatile. And because of this broad-based training that we have, you see pharmacy graduates are able to undertake postgraduate studies in various fields of life sciences. For example, cancer research. We have students doing cancer research after their first degree. Immunology, biotechnology, genetics, chemistry, bioinformatics, clinical research, nanotechnology, just to name a few. So we are very versatile, actually. We have students from pharmacy doing the PhDs in various areas of the life sciences. Now, just to give you an example, there are students in my lab actually doing research, for example, using this microscopic worm called C. elegans. It's 1 mm in length. And this worm actually has only about 1,000 cells. And this worm is actually found in the soil. Okay, lifespan is about 15 to 30 days. And we also have the transgenic variants, meaning the human disease genes have been inserted in this worm, and they can actually get something like human disease when they start to to grow and show all these human type kind of symptoms. Now, just give you an example. In my lab, we have this variant that can express the beta amyloid peptide, which is associated with Alzheimer's disease. And when the worm start to express this beta amyloid peptide, then the worm get paralyzed, and the head actually is the last part of the body to get paralyzed. And therefore, you find that this worm is actually very useful for screening of drugs, toxicity studies, and also anti-aging studies, including the molecular mechanisms of diseases, etc. And the funny thing about this worm, if you culture them at 16 degrees in the oven, then the lifespan is about 30 days. But if you culture them at a higher temperature, 20 degrees, you find that the lifespan is shorter. And you culture them at 25 degrees, you find that the lifespan is even shorter, about 15 days. And you may be wondering why. See, you look at it under the microscope. This is cultured at 25 degrees. You see, they're very active. Okay? And when we culture them at 16 degrees, you see, they are very slow, very sluggish. So the moral of the story is, if you have a hectic lifestyle, it's not good for your health. Now, this is transgenic worm. This is a normal worm before it expresses the beta amyloid peptide. You can see it's moving around. But once we induce them to produce the beta amyloid, you see the worms get paralyzed. And the head is only the last part to be moving. You can see the head here is still moving, but the body is really paralyzed. And therefore, in research, for example, the students can just test on any compound. And here in this graph here, I show that we put some tocotrienols, a form of vitamin E, into the culture. And you see what happens. See? The blue line is without the vitamin E, you find that they die off very fast. Once you start to express the beta amyloid at 28 hours, then they die off very fast. But with the vitamin E, you can see there's a delay, you know, in the time into paralysis and so dying off. You can also then study why that happens, for example, looking at the activity of the various genes, meaning we do the transcriptomics and looking at the activity of the various genes, and we found that many of the antioxidant genes are actually upregulated by the tocotrienols, so to withstand the toxic effect of the beta amyloid peptides. So this is kind of research that pharmacy students can undertake, you know, looking at various drug screening, and also into immunological studies, etc., etc. And pharmacy course is very versatile. Now, next I'll come to career opportunities. As a pharmacist, we can seek employment in the diverse areas as well. For example, in the public sector, we can work in the hospitals, even the hospitals in various departments, like clinical pharmacy, dispensing, counseling, etc. We can also work with the drug control authorities, where you do drug regulation and licensing, as drug inspectors. There are also pharmacists working in the custom department, research institutions, armed forces, and also in the universities. If you don't like the public sector, then you can go to the private sector. Of course, you can work also in the private hospitals, community pharmacies, sales and marketing, R&D institutes, and also private universities, etc. So you find that as a pharmacist, you have a lot of choices. Now, I'll just focus more on the pharmaceutical manufacturing industry, which is the focus of my talk tonight. If you look at the pharmaceutical manufacturing industry in Malaysia, we are really sorely lacking in pharmacists. Okay, and when we talk about manufacturing industry, actually it comprises manufacturers of human medicinal products, nutraceutical products, veterinary products, even herbal and traditional products. And the pharmaceutical industry is actually a very niche area, very highly regulated, with very stringent, good manufacturing practice requirements, and extensive quality control and quality assurance and quality controls. And often all these are within very narrow limits. When we talk about pharmaceutical manufacturing, pharmacists are needed not just for manufacturing. In fact, we have many different departments in the pharmaceutical manufacturing factory. Okay, and all these departments or divisions will require personnel with special expertise and skill sets, and where pharmacists fits in very well. For example, they include a plant design and maintenance, a GMP plant design and maintenance, quality assurance, quality control, manufacturing and production, supply chain, where you're involved in purchasing, warehousing, logistics, etc. Regulatory department is a very important department. R&D, of course. Legal department, you'll be surprised that even legal department, we need pharmacists there. And engineering department, we also need pharmacists there. Sales and marketing is another department, and where I think the salary and also the perks are much higher. And of course, there are other departments in the pharmaceutical manufacturing like HR, finance, IT, etc. And this is not related to us really. Now I'll go through them one by one. In the design and construction of CGMP plant, sadly, Malaysia lacks knowledgeable personnel in the pharmaceutical plant design according to stringent regulatory requirements. So I think this is a very good area for pharmacists to specialize, and you're in big demand. Currently, you find that many of these plants, when they build, they get consultants from overseas and all that. But slowly, I think many of the pharmacists locally here are picking up the skills, and they're becoming more knowledgeable in this area as well. And when you have a plant, then next you have operation, and that's where QA comes in. The plant must have a license to operate after fulfilling all the GMP requirements. But remember, your license can be cancelled if you fail to comply with during inspection or audit. Okay, and once you're given the license, you'll be inspected or audited regularly, not just by the local regulatory authority, but also by authorities from other countries where you want to export your products. For example, if you want to export, for example, to South Africa, for example, then the regulatory bodies there will come and audit. And only if you pass the audit, then only you can sell your products there. And this GMP and quality system is actually under the role and responsibility of the Quality Assurance Department, the QA. And it is a very, very important department in the manufacturing company. And you can have a lot of personnel inside this department. For example, you can have 50 to 100 personnel under this department itself. And if you look really, pharmacists are well equipped for these QA roles. Next, we come to quality control. Okay, quality control is slightly different from QA. Quality control is where you involve in the testing of raw materials, those that you buy to manufacture, and also the finished product. After you make them into tablets, capsules, creams, ointments, then you have to do all the testings. And it is also a relatively big department, requiring a lot of personnel. And skilled personnel are needed to perform the test according to guidelines, very stringent guidelines. Of course, you must be able to handle equipment, you know, like the HPLC and all these various testing equipments to test the function or the performance of your, for example, tablets. Are they good enough? Can they function properly and they perform properly? Now you look here, there's a long list of QC testing, even on the raw materials when you buy in. You have to do identification, related substances, impurities, etc., etc. And when you have made them into the final product, for example, tablet or capsules, then again, you have another long list of testings. And that's where pharmacists will play a very important role here. Next, I'll move on to the manufacturing and production. That's where all products must be manufactured according to stringent guidelines. This is day-to-day production, day-to-day producing the tablets and capsules for sale, etc. Now, different products such as tablet, capsules, injectable creams, ointments require personnel with different skill sets. So you can, as a pharmacist, for example, you can specialize in making tablets or capsules, or even injectables, where you need different skill sets, or just making simple creams and ointments. Okay. And pharmacists are normally needed at the executive and managerial level because you have the operators doing the day-to-day function, and that is where you have to supervise them and also familiar with the GMP practices, machinery needed to run all those operations. And as pharmacists also, we need to do the troubleshooting whenever we have a problem like machine breakdown or product quality issues, etc. For example, sometimes when you manufacture tablets, you find that your tablet is capping, or even your tablet is chipping, it's not perfect. And you as a pharmacist working in the production, then you have to go and troubleshoot and how to overcome all these problems. Let's now come to supply chain. Now, supply chain is another very important department here where pharmacists are also needed. You are basically involved in purchasing of raw materials with a quality that fulfills the regulatory requirements. Both raw materials and finished goods must be stored properly according to guidelines, and that's where your expertise will come in as well. Maintenance of the warehouse according to requirements, such as maintaining under GMP requirements, temperature, humidity, pest control, etc., which must be run in real time. And you're also in charge of inventory control. For example, you must check what are the fast-moving items, slow-moving items, expiry dates. There's any products will have an expiry date. You don't want them to expire in the warehouse. If you look here, Hovid actually has a state-of-the-art warehouse. It's fully automated. Okay, you just put the material here, barcode it, and then there will be robots to carry them and store them inside. You don't even know where it is. You don't go in at all. And then when you need it, you just punch in the code again, and then the robot will go and collect it and send it back to you. So it's highly automated and it's state-of-the-art warehouse. Everything is controlled in real time. For example, temperature, humidity, etc. Now, regulatory affairs is another very important department in the pharmaceutical manufacturing sector, because all products must be registered with the regulatory authorities before they're allowed to be sold. And each product is individually registered locally or in overseas market. You don't register 10 products in one shot. You have to register them one by one. Now, different countries may have different requirements again, and that's where, as a pharmacist, you'll be able to understand what is required, what is not required. Registration, it can be costly and time-consuming, 6 months to 2 years. Okay, and the faster you get registered, the faster you can sell your product. And to do that, you must submit a proper dossier each time. Any missing information or wrong information will cause a delay. And therefore, pharmacists are most ideal for this job because there's a lot of technical data concerning the product that the pharmacists were most ideal to know all this data to fill into the dossier. Now I'll come to the R&D department. Now, in the R&D, basically you formulate all kinds of dosage forms, from hand sanitizers to creams, capsules, tablet, emulsions, suspension, etc. We also conduct some cell animal studies, also doing some clinical trials, also assist other departments, for example, production, the regulatory affairs, even in QA on product complaints. We also assist in patent search and filing of patents. Again, pharmacists are in big demand and badly needed. Now, when I was working with Hovid, my team, we have about 50 people, right? And if you count the number of pharmacists, I have less than 5. When I went to Vietnam, there's a German generic company, has a state-of-the-art plant in Vietnam. And when the R&D department, they have about 40 people, 40 executive scientists there. More than 30 are pharmacists. And in Malaysia here, for the 28 years I was working, I have less than 5. Now, this is another example what you do in the R&D. For example, you look here, we also develop so-called high-tech products. You look at the, this is bioquinone, actually it's a coenzyme Q10. It's poorly absorbed. You look at this formula here, it's so poorly absorbed. And then the blue line is actually by an American company. They have a patented system. They come out with a better system and the drug is better absorbed, and therefore you get your money's worth. Okay, but we in Hovid, we also formulated another system that's even better than them. Okay, so these are the challenges we do in the R&D. Now, come to the legal department. We also face a lot of patent issues because patent is a protect invention with commercial value to prevent it from being exploited by others, you see. But unfortunately, most lawyers and even judges, they have no scientific background. In fact, most, if not all of them. Okay? So there's a big demand for pharmacists with pharmaceutical background and familiar with patent laws. Now, just to give you an example, this is an actual case. You see, a multinational company has a patent for a drug called adrenaline, and their patent is on giving this drug at a certain dose once a week. Okay, so there's no way we can overcome this. We will have to infringe this patent because the same version of the drug given in the same dosage regimen. So MNC can take you to court. Now, what happened is, if you look at the patent, it's a very weak patent. It's already invalidated in many countries overseas. For example, it was struck down by the British High Court in 2003. In US, it was also found not valid in 2005. Netherlands and France also found this patent to be invalid in 2008. So in Malaysia, what happened is we developed a product and we launched it in 2006. Then this multinational drug company sent us a letter on the patent infringement. We had to stop the sales of the product. Subsequently, they take us to the High Court. So remember, this multinational company has lost in many countries to other big generics, but they still take a case with the local company because in Malaysia, we're quite small. So my R&D manager and I spent a lot of time preparing the case with our appointed legal team because the lawyers, they're not familiar. So we have to go through with them all the technicalities of the case and everything. And we spent almost a week in court, but fortunately, we managed to invalidate the patent. Now, this is one of the last departments, the engineering department. Plant has many major equipments and machines. For example, for tableting, capsuling, blistering, cartoning, mixers, fluid bed dryers, analytical instruments, etc. And also, in the plant, you have to deal with air, water, and electrical systems according to GMP requirements. So all these need proper maintenance and also repair during breakdowns. Now, any breakdowns, if you disrupt the operations, can cost the company to lose a lot of money. Okay, so personnel in this department includes engineers and also those with pharmacy and pharmtech backgrounds. Okay. Now, lastly is the sales and marketing. I think this is where, and also a very important department, because this is the department that brings in revenue to the company by selling the products. And personnel with pharmaceutical background, most ideal to take up this job, especially in marketing because of the tight regulatory control in promotion and advertisement. You see, the pharmaceutical field is very different from the normal other consumer products. When you talk about advertisement, promotion, everything, there are certain rules and regulations that you have to follow. So you find that for people who are good in marketing in other industries, when they come to pharmaceutical, they are not so familiar because of the rules and regulations. And in this sales and marketing, you can hold positions like sales representative, product manager, sales manager, marketing manager, and even top posts like the general manager and director of the company. So in summary, if you look at the pharmaceutical industry, making generic drugs, which Malaysia, most of the companies are generic drug manufacturers, is getting more and more challenging, and we need more pharmacists and pharmaceutical technologists. It is important that we have a healthy pharmaceutical industry, and it's very important for the health of the nation. It is our obligation to make medicines affordable. Okay, if you look at the medicine cost today, and when we talk about our local industry, we make generic versions. They are so much cheaper than those imported versions. Otherwise, affordable medicines for a rakyat will just remain a dream. So with that, thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, I'm more than willing to answer. Thank you. I think I'm reading time, right? I'm on time, right? Half an hour.
Thank you very much, Professor Yen, for the interesting speech. However, due to the time limit, we can't have Q&A sessions, so we will proceed to the next speaker. Next up, we have Mr. Lien Yen Loong joined us today. Mr. Lien Yen Loong holds a master's in analytical chemistry, and he is currently serving as the head of pharmaceutical chemistry department and Head of Quality Assurance at Quest International University. He has 13 years of experience in Government Regulatory Laboratory, 17 years experience in industrial pharmacy, 6 years experience in academia, and 6 months experience in community pharmacy. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Lian Yen Lu to give his speech on pharmacists in academia.
Good evening. So may I start my talk? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay, I'm going to start. Okay, my topic today is a pharmacist in academia. So by academia is mean education and research. So first I must say that this talk is actually more meant for the students who are going to join the Faculty of Pharmacy. So it's more on that, but I can see the participants, there are not many students before they will join the pharmacy course. But anyway, this is more meant for them. So, okay. So when we talk about pharmacy in academia, and here in Quest International University, we have a school, Faculty of Pharmacy. So it's very natural for me to use the Faculty of Pharmacy in Quest University as an example to talk about pharmacy in academia. So here we have a pharmacy program which is fully accredited, okay? Which is, we obtained the 5 years excellent status by the MQF, by the Malaysian Qualification Agency. And here, why we have a very balanced curriculum. Okay, we will prepare the pharmacy graduate so that you are ready for the real world. That's why you see about tagline, real world holistic pharmacy education. Okay. And also we have very experienced academic staff. They are all of them are pharmacists and with a postgraduate degree, either master or PhD. And we also use very different method to teach the student. We are using process-driven PPL. We have using lab rubric. We're using OSP, that kind of thing. When it's hard for me to explain to you all these things. When you join our faculty as a student, you will learn. You definitely will be exposed to all this teaching method. Okay, so today, since I'm going to use Quest International University as an example to talk about pharmacy in academia, so it will be easier for me to explain to you. Imagine you are a student who just joined the Faculty of Pharmacy and you don't know anything about pharmacy, but after 4 years of learning, you'll be fully equipped with the knowledge, with the theory and also with the practical knowledge to face the real world. Like just now, the previous speaker, Prof. Yuan, already given a very detailed description of the work in the pharmacy industry. Besides that, we also prepare you to work in the hospital, to work in the community pharmacy, I think like that. So without further delay, I would like to explain to you what are you going to learn from all the academicians. The picture you see here is Professor Dr. Alan Matthews. He is no other than our dean. He's the dean of the Faculty of Pharmacy. So he's a very busy person. Of course, he has to do a lot of admin work. He has to look after the welfare of the staff and also the welfare of the student. But today we are talking about academia. So we'll be talking more on the teaching and also research interesting. So I'm not going to emphasize more on the other things. So also because of time constraint. So Professor Dr. Allen, he's teaching intensively. He's teaching clinical pharmacy and hospital pharmacy, and he's specially trained in the this is a pharmacokinetic, clinical pharmacokinetic, which is a branch of pharmacy, a branch of the study when our body take the drug and what would our body do to the drug. In the layman term, that would be the easiest way to talk about pharmacokinetic. So a lot of mathematical calculation. Dr. Allen is very good in this one. So that will be teaching interest. So Besides that, he will teach pharmacy practice and pharmacy quality assurance and accounting. See. And his research interest, we talk about teaching and also research. See. And in the academic world, see, his research interest will be computer software system for pharmacy practice. At this point, I think he's going to have his first PhD student to graduate this year. Yeah. Who work on the computer software. That will be his first PhD student. Besides, he will be also doing research on community pharmacy practice and also research on quality of medicine along the pharmaceutical supply chain. Okay, so next I will be talking about Professor Dr. Syed Atif Papas, and Professor Atif is our deputy dean. He's again another very busy person, but as I said just now, I will be talking about more on the teaching interest and his research interest, but that will be academia. See, I don't want to talk things that other than academia, okay? So his teaching interest will be pharmacology. Pharmacology is a branch of science where you take a certain drug and what would the drug do to your body? See? It will lower your blood pressure, it will lower your sugar content, it will make your heart pump faster or pump slower, that kind of thing. It's all about pharmacology. So Dr. Atif is an expert in this one. So he also teaches communication skill to the first year student. How do you deal with patients? Because when you do clinical pharmacy, you have to deal with patients, how to talk to them, how to communicate with them, all these things. So
explore different fields in academia. So since we have a little bit of time left, so we'll open the floor for questions. So if you have any question for our speaker, feel free to drop them in the chat box or in the comment section if you're streaming from our Facebook or YouTube. If you have any question for the previous speaker, Professor Yuan as well, you can drop them in the chat box. Okay, if there are no questions on the floor, then we'll end our session here. So I'll pass back to you, Darshini.
Thank you, Natalie. Well, this marks the end of our session for today. Thank you all for spending your valuable time with us, and we hope the information shared by our speakers today will be helpful in deciding your career path. The attendance link will be shared with you in the chat box in a while. Please fill in to obtain the CPD points as well as the CCA points for QRU students. See you tomorrow with more interesting information on the journey to be a pharmacist in Malaysia by our wonderful speakers. The first session would be at 2 p.m. and the next one will be at 8 p.m. Thank you all once again. Good night and stay safe.
Okay, sorry everyone, before you leave, remember to fill in the